Dr. Fillmore, OBGYN office. How may we help you?
Hi, I was wondering if I could schedule an appointment with Dr. Fillmore.
Oh, sorry, no, she's all booked up, but she is available for phone appointments.
Oh, okay, that's great. Is she available at the moment?
Yes, she is. I can get her right now for you.
Hi.
Hi, Dr. Fillmore. Well, my boyfriend and I just found out that we're pregnant.
That's exciting.
Well, yes, but I have a couple questions as this is my first one.
Okay, well, would you like to know about the development of your growing child?
Well, yes, I would also like to know, what's going on inside of me because I never took health class and I was never taught about how all of this happens, I always thought it was just a stork flying into the trees.
Obviously. Okay, so basically, before you get pregnant, the fertilization process happens, and that is when sperm and egg come together.
What?
Yeah, and when the sperm cell and the egg cell come together, it is now called the zygote. And then it turns into the blastocyst, which is when the zygote of roughly 500 cells reaches the uterus. And those group of cells implant themselves into your uterine walls.
And where are these uterine walls located?
In your uterus.
Oh, is that where the little person's held?
Yes, that's
When am I going to know the gender?
The gender is immediately determined as soon as you and your boyfriend's DNA connect, but we won't be able to tell for a little while. Okay, the next step after the blastocyst implants in the walls of the uterus, the baby grows into what's called an embryo, and that happens between the 3rd to 8th week of your pregnancy is when it's called an embryo. And the blastocyst separates into 3 layers, and this is where the internal organs and skin begin to develop.
And what are these 3 layers?
Well, the outer layer forms the brain, nervous system, and skin. The middle layer forms the heart, blood vessels, bones, muscles, and reproductive system. And the inner layer forms the stomach, intestines, lungs, and other organs.
Now, how do I know that my baby's brain and spinal cord and all other vital necessities are growing well?
Well, the neutral tube, which will form the brain and spinal cord, starts to close from the center of the embryo outward. After it closes, the portion of the head thickens and divides into the forebrain, midbrain, and hindbrain. Rapid growth causes folding of the embryo. During this process, part of the yolk sac is incorporated into the lining of the digestive system. The primitive backbone is curled and looks like a tail, which will recede in a few weeks. Your baby's heart is transformed from a tube into an S-shaped loop that begins beating about 22 days after conception.
So, how did the seed and the egg meet? Can you explain how it all happened?
Well, 2 weeks after your last menstrual cycle approximately are when the sperm and the egg meet. It takes a couple days for the sperm to, go through the uterus and find the egg.
Okay. Can you help me understand the stages of pregnancy that I'll be experiencing soon?
Well, there's 3 trimesters of pregnancy, and each one is roughly 3 months. You'll be pregnant for about 40 weeks. In the first trimester, you'll be able to tell that you're pregnant with a home pregnancy test after about 4 weeks. The gender and physical features of your baby have already been determined during the first month of pregnancy. The baby is growing the fastest. During the 2nd month of pregnancy, the baby's heart and blood vessels start to form. During the 3rd month, the baby now has eyelids and hands and feet are almost fully developed. The next trimester is the 2nd, and about the 4th month, your baby has ears, is about 3 inches tall, and its internal organs, such as the digestive system, are developing. The 5th month brings movement for the baby, kicking and shifting. It is now 6 inches tall and has eyebrows and eyelashes. During the 6th month, the baby can now hear you and your partner's voices. The baby weighs about 1 pound, and it has skin, but it's pretty wrinkly.
Yuck.
In the 7th month, this is now the 3rd trimester, is when the baby really gains weight and starts to breathe. The baby can be almost 1 foot long and is gaining fat and muscle rapidly, and their brain is growing. During the 8th month, the baby should be making movements pretty constantly and its lungs are fully developed. It is still gaining weight, but the brain and nervous system are functioning. The 9th month brings movement almost every day. The baby can now grab onto things. It may shift so its head is facing down, ready for birth.
Now, what should I be expecting during these different trimesters?
Well, during the first trimester, you've heard of probably morning sickness, which is when you get nauseous in the morning. You'll be very fatigued. The size of your breasts and waistline will increase,
Oh, that's
and
good.
you'll have to urinate more
That's
often.
bad.
In the second trimester, you can start to get stretch marks, swelling of the ankles and face, dark spots, discoloration around your body. Also, what is called the pregnancy glow may start to happen, and your baby bump will start to show. Also, you'll have a lot of cravings and an increased appetite.
And will my partner still be interested in me during all these things?
Yeah, your partner should be interested in you. If they're not, then that's kind of your partner's fault for not wanting to be interested in you. But adjusting to the new body is something that a lot of women struggle with. But I think it's usually okay. You just have to talk about it.
Okay.
Going back, the third trimester, expect to get a lot of sleeplessness. Your breasts will start to get tender. You'll develop clumsiness, lack of balance, more swelling, increase in having to urinate again. And then towards the very end of your pregnancy, you'll start to experience contractions, which are basically like preparing you for labor.
Now, what are the benefits of pregnancy again? Because I'm hearing a lot of side effects.
Well, you have an entire human growing inside you. The things that happen basically are just your body's reaction to having another human inside of it. And the having to urinate more is because the baby's resting on your bladder. Sleeplessness is because the baby's moving. And then the breast stuff is usually because your body's preparing to breastfeed.
Like having the phone up to my ear. I feel like I'm really on the phone.
Okay, go.
So now my baby's ready to come out. What happens?
Well, basically, childbirth happens. The childbirth process begins with a series of contractions of the uterine muscles in the mother due to the dilation of the cervix.
Where's the cervix?
It's this like small hole in between the uterus and the vagina.
Okay.
The contractions will come more and more frequently as time passes, and once they are 3 to 4 minutes apart, then you're officially in labor. Your water will also break, which is really the amniotic fluid sac rupturing, but it's possible to start labor without it breaking. Once the cervix is dilated enough, the baby will start to make its way out with help from the contractions.
Now, what if I'm having difficulties during labor?
Well, natural birth is usually the way that women give birth, but in case something happens, a C-section can also happen,
And what is that?
and that happens when vaginal birth is not possible or there are multiple babies. There are many health risks involved in getting a C-section, so unless it's necessary to you, then it's not recommended for your health.
Okay.
Natural birth is the most popular type of birth in America. Usually a baby is delivered with the mother laying down, but that's not really the natural position to deliver it in. It is just more convenient. But changing the birthing process does not have positive effects, and it's best not to interfere with nature. The safest type of birth is natural, and inducing labor is also not the best option.
So, no drugs.
It is not recommended for your health, but if you aren't good at dealing with pain, then there are a lot of options that are safe.
Okay. Now, can you go over one more time what my options for labor are again?
Well, you could give natural birth. You could have a C-section, which is where they open your stomach. And then you could have a water birth, which is where you give birth in water. And a lot of women find that comforting because it's less painful and it's easier for them to be comfortable while giving birth.
Would you recommend a water birth?
It really has to do with what you want, but I think water births are pretty cool. It's just kind of an unconventional technique, so yeah.
Now, I want to know to make sure, because this is my first and I want to keep it alive, so I want to make sure that I'm having a healthy pregnancy as well as a healthy developing baby. Do you have any tips for this by any chance?
Well, I would recommend eating healthy. That's the first step. Also, try not to drink any alcohol or do any drugs. That's absolutely not allowed. You should take your prenatal vitamins, which are usually folic acids. See a prenatal doctor regularly.
Are you a prenatal doctor?
I'm not.
Okay. Can you? after
Yeah,
this
I can
recommend-
write you a referral to one. Get plenty of sleep. That's really important. You don't want to be exhausted at all when you're pregnant, because being pregnant itself is exhausting. So you should really try to stay rested and energized. Get tested for genetic diseases and other things like that during your pregnancy, just to see if your baby's developing properly. And drink lots of water. It's always good to stay hydrated.
Now, as you mentioned, there are complications during pregnancy, and I really don't want to lose the baby. And I understand that I've heard a lot about premature babies. So can you just give me like a quick summary on all three of those?
Yes. 1 in 5 women will have a miscarriage. Most cases are unexplained and usually happen during the first trimester. So miscarriages are common. It happens all the time. It's not a big deal. It sucks, but it just happens. There's usually no reason, and it's absolutely not the mother's fault ever. Another pregnancy complication is what's called stillbirth, which is when the baby is deceased after 24 weeks of pregnancy. This only happens 1 in 200 cases, so probably won't happen. Premature birth is when you go into labor, you have to give birth before your baby's ready to come out, and that can happen when the mother has an infection or a weak cervix, or is also having more than one baby.
Now, as I mentioned before, I understand that sex causes dark spots and stretch marks and just very unpleasant things. Am I still going to be able to have sex while I'm pregnant?
Sex in the second trimester will not cause any complications, and less concerns about miscarriages and contraception will decrease. The mother will feel more comfortable with herself, and her pregnancy belly will not be as big compared to later in the pregnancy. Penetrative intercourse does not hurt your unborn baby.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. A woman's cervix is sealed with a thick mucus plug, and a sac of waters, or amniotic fluid, acts as a cushion to protect your baby. A woman's clitoris will increase in sensation when pregnant, making her genitals softer, and she'll be able to achieve orgasms more readily. Her nipples can be extremely sensitive when touched, which can be sensitive or uncomfortable. The breasts will become larger and tender, so handle with care.
I'll tell my boyfriend. Now, do you have anything else to say? Because I really appreciated you taking your time.
Just good luck with your pregnancy. I think you'll do well.
Okay, and I can call back at any time?
Yes, call me anytime with any questions.
Okay, thank
Here's
you so
my
much.
email.
Oh, well, thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Goodbye.